I just kind of want to start asking, can we just play like 10 questions with Danielle?
Hot seat. Let's do it.
I love this.
Go, Adam.
I've heard you got some pretty incredible hot takes. What is your number one sports hot take?
Ooh, okay. So I actually have them written down in my notes app, ready for me at any moment to like split them off. Okay, this week's hot take is that the preseason rankings at the beginning of college football should be solely based off of the final ranking from the year before. And the reason being is because like you'll have other teams coming up here just because of their name. And so like, yeah, they had, I don't want to call any names, but you know, some teams last year went 6-6. And then it's like, how did they end up in the top 10 at the start of the season? Does it make sense? And then, because it's like, once you're at the top, you stay at the top unless you lose out. So then it's just not fair for like a Tennessee who had to work their way all the way up. So
I like it. So your preseason ranking is a carryover of where you finished in the previous season.
Exactly. Because what else are we going after? Like, what are we going off of?
I like that. Give me a NCAA basketball hot take.
Conference champions should not be 16 seeds. And so reason being is because, so I used to work at the SWAC office. So typically whoever the conference champion of the SWAC would be, either 16 or 15, they would, you know, get blown out by the 1 seed or whatever, which is fine. I get it. But like, if you're a conference champion, you should not be that lower seed. You should be saving that for those at-large bids because like they didn't deserve their way in there like some of these other teams did. So that's college basketball.
Love it.
I need to write that one down because that was going to be very appropriate for this upcoming season.
Can we pause? Can we pause 1 second? And Adam, can you just give a 30-second intro of who the heck we're talking to real quick so people know who we're talking to?
No, needs no intro.
That's true.
We just jumped right in. Welcome to another episode of the NIL show. We're here. This is a long time coming. We've been really excited to chat with you. We are talking with Campus Inc.'s very own Danielle Tate. She's a recent new hire. We always, she's dangerous in the NIL space, man. She's got experience. She's got expertise, which is hard to come by in NIL. And so Danielle, we're hyped to have you. This is already a fascinating conversation.
Already. I love the introduction because you were able to actually throw that in there now that I work for Campus Inc., which is great. Because when we were supposed to do this back in the day, I was not.
Yeah. How did we meet, Danielle? How did we learn you were so dangerous?
Oh man. Well, it all started when I was at a company called INFLCR. I was on the partnerships team in the last role that I held, which was helping these guys get up and off the ground with the NIL store and trying to help them however I could. So we connected that way. We learned, I guess, as Adam puts it, just how dangerous I can be. And then, I get a call one day and he was like, why don't you come on over? And I'm like, why not?
Danielle was our success and account manager for INFLCR. And I remember, you guys were taking such good care of us. I remember one time after one of our regular meetings, Steven and I looked at each other and we were like, man, we need somebody like that on our team. And
I think I asked Danielle, I was like, how do we get one of you on our campus team?
Yeah.
How do we get a Danielle for us?
Why settle for an imitation when you can have the real thing?
When you could just have the real thing. I think the funniest thing to me was that when we were first or when Sean first asked me to be on the podcast a couple months ago, I responded and I was like, oh yeah, this date will be perfect because I'm going to have some exciting news coming up. And so I'll be able to talk about it like on the podcast. And the exciting news was not the news that was actually shared 3 days later or something like that. And so it was just funny because I was like, oh yeah, exciting news. And you're like, oh, I can't wait for you to say it. And I was like, I called him back 3 days later and I'm like, I got exciting news, but it's also different news. So that was
new news.
That was fun. But the actual exciting news, Sean, I don't know if I ever told you what the real exciting news was, but it was when I was in the Birmingham Business Journal as one of their women to watch. That was supposed to actually be the good news that I was going to talk about, but now we're months down the road.
No, I remember that. I saw that. And I think I remember talking to you on the phone there, and I don't even know if Adam and Steven had talked to you at that point yet. And I was like, no. By the way, I think that they might reach out to you. And I started just like pushing you on Campus Inc. hard. Like,
I'm trying to go to dinner. Like my friends are already at the restaurant. I'm standing outside of the restaurant, and Sean is just talking my ear off about Campus Inc. And I'm sitting here like, am I really about to work with this guy that does not even understand dinner time right now? I don't know. But it worked.
We're trying to teach Sean, like Sean was traveling with the team at Maryland, and he doesn't know what to do with his nights and weekends. So he's learning what work-life balance is like. So sorry
if
for
Sean
that.
needs an extra task, a recruiter is 100% what he should do. He's a great recruiter.
Hey, great. Danielle, you have probably the most amount of experience possible in terms of how long you've worked in the NIL industry. Which for how like recent NIL has passed, how long have you been in? Yeah, tell us about like your NIL journey. I know you went to Bama for undergrad and LSU for grad school, so I don't know how that all works out.
It's backwards. We gotta correct that. LSU for undergrad, Bama for graduate. Roll Tide.
Hey, Sean, get my notes right. Sean's my researcher.
We're gonna keep passing that down the line because I think I was the one that got that wrong. I'll own up to it.
As long as you say both too, because I love them both equally, and so I need people to know, because that's also another hot take. Whenever people,
that's a cop out.
I don't want to take down the goalpost here, but Disney World or Universal Studios?
Oh, Disney, 100%.
So Bama or LSU?
Both.
Head to head. Honestly, just depends on whose season it'll affect more. So whoever needs to win more,
the diplomat.
That's who I'm rooting for.
The diplomat. That's good.
Gotta look.
Danielle, we were just talking about White Lotus, season 1 or season 2?
I think season 2. I think season 2 has a slight edge, very slight though.
Who's your favorite character?
Like one of a kind.
Albie, cute kid.
Have any of you seen The Patient, the Steve Carell limited series?
I have not seen that yet. Is it good?
Serial killer kidnaps his therapist.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Steve Carell, serious edition. Wild.
Love it.
What is this on?
Hulu.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
because I tried to watch stuff on Peacock last night, and I realized that I didn't have a Peacock account.
We need to share a Slack channel with logins.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
That'd be huge.
Publix or Sprouts, Danielle?
Publix. Sprouts is just nothing negative to say about Sprouts, but Publix, come on. I mean, you can.
This is the second grocery store conversation we've had this week.
And it was about Publix. I'm a Publix fan. Get the pub sub for lunch, or I think I was telling Adam this, like you can go to the seafood side and get your seafood steamed, and they'll season it for you, and it's like $6. And then you go to the deli, get you a side, and I mean, like that's lunch, that's dinner. Let's not even talk about the bakery, because that gets you hooked every single time. It's just it's an experience, one of a kind. It's like a Buc-ee's, but better.
You had an NIL deal from a food establishment. Who would it be?
So I just hinted at this, but I think it would be Buc-ee's. Does Buc-ee's count as a food establishment? I mean, they have it.
It's your deal.
Do y'all know Buc-ee's? I know y'all are Northerners, so you might. Okay,
couldn't tell you.
So let me give a 30-second spiel on what Buc-ee's is. Buc-ee's is a Walmart. Okay, 100 pumps, 100 gas pumps, all around the building. It's like a Walmart.
You're not
inside.
selling it as a food establishment.
Okay, no, I'm getting to that. So it's like a Walmart inside. They got like home goods in there. They've got clothing. I mean, I've got like 2 different bathing suits from there, and it's cute. They got a little beaver on them. They're nice. Okay. The kicker though is the brisket. They have like brisket sandwiches. Like they have a whole meat market in there. You can get chicken sandwiches. So it's like gas station food, but it's a little bit elevated. It's better. They got this huge like coffee stand where you can like make your own iced coffee with all of the fixing. So it's Disney World, but it's a gas station on the side of the road. It's great.
I'm looking at their website right now.
Yeah, y'all have to Google it. I hate that y'all don't know about this.
Is it the Apple Store? Is it the Apple Store of gas stations?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here for it, man. I'm looking at this. They got hats. I mean, they got merch is on lock.
I can't wait till y'all come down south for something, and then we're purposely going to drive to Buc-ee's just so you guys can experience it. And it's like a 45-minute stop too. Like it's not just run in and run out.
They're a world record holder according to their website. They're the world's largest convenience store. It's 66,000 square feet. I mean, we got to go. We have to frequent.
Are there a lot of them?
Somebody stayed there for 24 hours. What was that, Stephen?
Are there a lot of them? Like, are they everywhere?
Yes. It's enough of them. So I'm pretty sure it started in Texas. So there's a bunch in Texas. It's starting to make its way a little bit more eastward. So we have one here in Birmingham now. And I think maybe Atlanta's about to get one too. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the route that you're taking if you're going to stop one.
This is
all right.
awesome.
Can we go back to NIL for a sec?
Yes.
So Danielle, tell us a little bit about NIL. Because you've definitely been here a while, sort of, in the NIL space. Go for it.
Okay, so what should I say about NIL? So when you say I've been here for a long time, I guess I've been here since day one of NIL, which is kind of cool. When I was at Influencer, our goal was that we knew that NIL would come at some point. We just didn't know when. So we wanted to make sure that our student athletes, our schools, the departments were all equipped to know what to do and how to carry themselves for if they wanted to get into NIL. I think
what year was that?
Part, I started at Influencer in 2019. The company was founded, I believe it was late 2017 or early 2018. And that was like the very, very beginning stages. I kind of consider myself like their luxury hire. When you figure out, Stephen, you'll know this, when you figure out that you have enough money that like you don't have to work everybody else to death, and you're like, oh, let's actually hire someone to, do stuff. I was that person for Influencer, what I like to consider. So it was pretty cool though, to be able to see people buy into it so early, not knowing what to expect or again, when it was going to happen. I believe at that point, California had already written their bill. And so again, we kind of knew something was brewing, but we just didn't know like when it would happen. And so, yeah,
what was it like on when the bill passed and it was like live? Did you have everything ready to go, or did you all just throw a big party first to celebrate? I know we're going to Vegas next week, but give it.
I think so. We were at the point of, so other states had also started to make their own bills. So as other states begin to create and draft and kind of put them in order, we knew that there was no way that the NCAA would kind of let, 6 or 7 states run the market and the rest of you guys just kind of have to follow the NCAA rules. So we knew something was brewing. That was also when I moved over into the partnerships role in that team. And that it was at first, before it was partnerships, well, it was kind of like the NIL division, so to speak. And so we were gearing up for helping our schools kind of understand what their bills were and what they can and cannot do. Again, how they can recruit using Influencer just by simply saying like, hey, we got this tool that'll help you get your pictures. And that was pretty much it. That was like the speaking point. And then again, as it started to gear up a little bit more, was when we had introduced the compliance ledger tool that we implemented. And so again, kind of teaching some of the compliance users how they can track some of those transactions that are coming through. If their bill makes them do that, some bills didn't make people track their transactions. So, just kind of trying to stifle through like everything that was going on and trying to figure out what each school needs. And I think that was probably the hardest part for a little bit, is every state kind of had varying levels of what they could and could not do. And everybody was so scared at first, like they were just so terrified of like doing the wrong thing. Like no one wants to be that one school that gets in trouble. And so luckily, we still haven't necessarily seen that. But it was kind of hard trying to like ease everybody's tension to be like, hey, it's okay. Like they're not going to come down on you immediately for all of this stuff.
So I remember with Influencer, this was before NIL dropped. I remember we were going into the NCAA tournament for basketball, and I think you guys offered like a free 1 month trial or something during March Madness. And so Maryland like jumped on the opportunity, and essentially your platform at that time allowed for us to share images and action shots to our athletes directly to them. All they had to do was have the app. And basically when they got done playing their game, they would open their phone and they would have all kinds of photos there that they could use on social media. And you guys had like the facial recognition thing where like it knew which player it was. It could tag them automatically, send it to the athlete. And I remember being blown away by it. But it's just so interesting to think about where you guys were prior to NIL and what you guys were doing at that point.
Exactly. Like that was like the bare bones of what our software did. And so we always wanted to make sure we stayed tried and true to that too, because we knew not everybody would love NIL. Not everybody wanted to be interested in it, but we did know that they would still be interested in getting their pictures, because everyone loves pictures of themselves. And especially when it's quality pictures and they're nice, like that's what brings people to the app at first. So that was actually a really fun promotion that we did, because it was really cool to just give people a chance for however long they were in the tournament just to experience the app. And like, it was awesome. I think it was really cool for a lot of the athletes that we worked with, because they had never really gotten a chance to get their photos in that manner. So, it was great for us, obviously, because we were able to sell through those student athletes, but just being able to see their faces light up with like, hey, I'm on the biggest stage right now. We made it to the tournament, and like now I have something to show for it. Was really cool.
Was it, I mean, obviously, influencers a big player in the NIL space, haven't been available on that early stuff. I'm just curious. I feel like we're in kind of the same boat of it being really exciting. You just talked about being able to provide a really cool service. Jim was named one of the most influential people in college sports, which was, a great honor for him. What was it like kind of being on the very initial tech cutting edge for you guys? Like, the universities are essentially your primary customers. I don't know. What were some of like the big challenges that you guys had to overcome? Because you had been working in collegiate sports for a while, and then all of a sudden everything changed. What was it like internally? Were you like, oh geez, here we go, ready to rock and roll, or all these extra problems?
So when I first got to Influencer, I didn't know anything about tech. I was just like, I know sports. I've worked in athletic departments before. I don't have a clue about tech. So if something breaks, I have no idea what to do. So it was fun for me though, because I got to see it from the perspective of the athletic department and from those student athletes, which I did know. And so I knew, like, I didn't necessarily know about how well the software would do, but I knew that people were buying into it. And that was like the funnest part for me. And like you kind of said with the parallels, like that's the same way I feel about Campus Inc. and the NIL store now, is that you see how much it's helping student athletes, and how much and how easy I guess it is for departments to be able to buy into something that's like this, where, hey, like I'm not having to put any lift into this, but they're reaping the benefits that they always like could and should have. So it's fun just to see that aspect of how it really makes a difference in those people's lives because, again, like that's why we're here. I don't know why I decided to choose an industry where my job is based off of 18 and 22-year-olds, but COVID really taught me that. COVID definitely taught me that. But it's fun. We're here. So
you've been so now you're handling licensing, which is a beast of its own.
It is.
And university relationships. Can you give us a hot take on what you've gotten out of licensing so far?
Careful.
I feel like it's still too early because I don't really know. Sorry, Stephen, to be quite frank, I still don't know what I'm doing 100%. Hope you didn't think I did. But I think it's very interesting how everyone treats their brand differently. And it's really interesting to see how protective some are more than others. And I can't say rightfully so, because I feel like each institution has a rep to protect and they also have a reason to be progressive. So as we're creating stuff and our designers are creating graphics and artwork and merchandise, it's really cool to see how much some of them are willing to actually push the envelope. So I don't have a hot take yet, but that's a
pretty good take. Yeah.
Initial thoughts.
I think those are some really interesting initial thoughts. And the reason I say that is the old way of doing things just isn't cutting it, right? Like the schools that are slightly more progressive, but still, protective of their brand and all that stuff, are creating so many more opportunities for their athletes. And it's a gradual shift, right, Adam? Like you talk to licensing directors and athletic directors all the time.
Yeah. And Danielle, I think hit the nail on that. Is like every school is different. And, we just made another new hire that I was talking to last night and, talking through licensed apparel and working with brands and all that kind of stuff. And we use this term internally a lot. You're a steward of their brand. And so you need to find that balance of expressing their brand in the way that they want to, but also we're experts in this. We know how to connect with fans and customers really well. So sometimes it's pushing that a little bit of trust me, this is going to be awesome. This is going to look cool. You might need to think about doing something a little bit different. And you're really good at that, Stephen, of saying yeah, you need to do something different. We're going to do this.
I'm a little perhaps sometimes too direct.
Oh, likewise. Same. But I think Adam, to your point, that's the same thing that we had to go through when I was at Influencer. Again, we were 7 clients deep. We had to let them understand hey, it's okay for the athletes to have access to the photos that the department is taking, because before they were just so protective over it because they wanted to make sure that their brand was still elevated more. And then we kind of had to rework everybody's brain process of being hey, your brand is these student athletes. So when they go and look at their page, that's a reflection of you and your brand. So you need to make sure that theirs is just as good as what yours is. And so I think, and as the industry kind of adapted and we got a little bit older and a little bit more seasoned, it was way easier to have those conversations. So I think it'll be kind of a similar thing where once you see what the industry is doing and you see people gravitating towards it, I think people will be more open to the concept instead of being so protective of what they idolize as being correct for their brand.
Danielle, I remember it was probably 2014. It would be post game after a basketball game, and we would have an awesome picture of one of our athletes, either, I don't know, dunking a ball or whatever, and we'd show it to him, and he would love it, and then he would say, "Can I get that?" And we would be like, And it was I never really, to be honest, I mean, I was young at that point, but I wasn't sure. Was it a compliance rule that we couldn't give it to him, or were we just not allowed to? Was it our school rule? So it's amazing how in just a short amount of time, how much things have evolved. And
you're talking about pictures,
so.
You're talking about pictures. Right. It's not oh, can I take this entire jersey home with me to give to some, it's, we're talking about pictures here, it's like Adam loves to say.
And believe it or not, Believe it or not, these athletes happen to do a lot for your university.
Yeah.
So it's just a picture.
Sean, you and I were actually just talking about this. It's like, who does this help and who does this hurt at the end of the day? And at the end of the day, a lot of times your student athletes are the only ones that are paying the price, because it means they're not able to enjoy or flex or, be able to celebrate and live in that moment like they otherwise would be able to. But it's a new space. And, there's the whole spectrum of people's interpretations on it.
And that's exactly it. It's interpretations, and every school has different interpretations. And that's the NCAA, baby.
Danielle, I think another really important piece, and, I sing your praises to Stephen and the team here all the time, of your role is that university partnerships piece, right? And kind of being that liaison to those athletics departments. The licensing trademark directors, ADs, NIL directors, maybe the licensing hot takes is one thing. What's a hot take from the partnership side?
But Adam, first of all, I blush every time you sing my praises, because it's like comforting to know, at least like I'm doing something right. Cause I feel like I mess up so many times in a day, and, to see like me still be able to kind of like recover and like do what I need to do is always like heartwarming. I think for hot take for partners, I'm actually going to go. So I'm technically an introvert, and a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people think that that's like a lie, that no, you're not. No, I really am an introvert. So, I'm an introvert, but for some odd reason, God has given me this ability to like relationships wise, like just to be able to build relationships and to keep relationships. I have no idea why, because like, I do know why. It's because he put me in a job where I have to do it versus having to do it in my personal life. Well, I do it in my personal life too, obviously. But like, you know what I mean? Like he makes me put it to the test, and like my job day to day is like putting it to the test, versus if it was up to me, I would be in the house like every single night, but can't do it all the time. So yeah, I'm an introvert. I love being by myself, but people don't know that. People don't think that's true.
I think the coolest part about you joining the team at Danielle is I think I say it all the time. NIL is so new, and so to find somebody that has experience in the NIL space is just so incredibly, incredibly valuable. And I remember our first like one-on-one when you first joined on, you were asking a lot of why questions, and I was so thankful for that, because when we're in it and sort of building it and just deep in those trenches, you're just moving forward and you're evolving, but you don't have that fresh perspective. And so you brought this fresh perspective of like, wait, why are you doing it that way? Or couldn't you do it this way? And I was so appreciative of that. And you continue to do that. It's just very, very valuable.
I appreciate that. I'm also like confused half the time, and I try to make it seem like I'm not confused.
So just stop downplaying
when
yourself.
When I'm asking questions, it's genuinely because like I probably don't know, and not because I'm trying to give a better train of thought. That's another thing that like it's fun for this industry to still be so young, because we're all still learning about it, and it's really cool just to see like even in this first year and a half, like how much it's evolved. But we all still don't really know. Like we know what we're doing, but we don't know what we're doing. And I think the scary part is we kind of don't know what the future holds. But I think the scary part in that is that we have the ability to control the future. And you just kind of have to outlast some other people.
I mean, Adam, like, so the licensing sportswear tailgate show that we're exhibiting at in 2 weeks, booth 7089. Adam was like encouraging me to go. He's like, just go walk the floor, just go meet people. I didn't have anyone to go with. Adam just had Cal. He's like, and I was just nervous. He's like, just go for the day or whatever. I knew nothing about licensing at all. Like I knew Greek licensing because we did it. I knew some I didn't know much. And in less than a year, like the troublemakers and the rugrats at Campus Inc. are now turning into licensing experts. And I think that's pretty rad. Adam, like, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about being industry leaders, when you talk about pushing things forward and improving them, I mean, that's what good leaders are required to do, right? Like anybody can lead or execute on something when all the knowns are known and everything's easy. It's hard when there's a lot of unknowns and legislation is shifting and changing, and interim policies are nothing more than interim policies. But that, to your point, Danielle, that's the fun part, right? Like that's why we're here. That's where, I don't know, the cream rises to the top a little bit and you find some challenges, but you don't let those challenges they maybe discourage you for a short time, but you don't let them keep you down, right? You work through them and you say, okay, yeah, there's new stuff going on here. There's unknowns. We're going to mess it up. We're going to make a mistake, but we'll fix it. We'll move on and we won't make that mistake again. So yeah,
and I think sports too is just so, sports is just such a real time thing. It's very easy. Well, I won't say it's easy, but you have a lot of opportunities to pivot if you need to. And I think the best businesses out there are those that can be a little bit nimble and flexible. I think you should always stay and stick true to who you are, but don't be afraid to pivot in a direction that the industry needs you to go in, while still staying true to who you are. And I think that's one thing that Campus Inc. has kind of done is like, you saw a need in the market and you were able to pivot the business from the Greek side over to NIL, but it's still staying true to who you are. So once you find a balance to be able to do that, sports just gives you a lot of opportunities to feel out what's going on. And I don't want to say ride the wave because it's not really a wave, it is a long-term thing, but just kind of, being in the moment and staying true to what's going on right now.
Sean shared with us it was like a Twitter video of like Jeff Bezos, right? And Sean, and it was him, whether you're not a fan or not or whatever, he said the word, you have to obsess over your customer 100 times, and they had it recorded. Like you have to make the customer your focus. And Sean had just shared it, and I just inferred that he was encouraging us to stay true to that. We put our students first. We've always done that at Campus Inc. Some of our students happen to be athletes, right? And to your point, Danielle, like we are rooted, we'll say this, we're rooted in education. We are rooted in our students. We are rooted in our student athletes. That equation will never change. And I think the most compelling part, and Adam sees this firsthand, when I'm selling to a school, I just lead with that. Are you rooted in education? Are you with me or are you not?
And kind of like going back to what Adam said too about, how can this help? And then how can this hurt? Because when you think about what we're doing in theory, I don't see a lot of hurts, so that's a really good, important part that people have to focus on. Is like, yeah, it might not be great to you right now because it's so new and it's so innovative, but like, does it actually hurt anything by doing it? Probably not. Probably not.
Danielle, from a startup standpoint, do you see similarities? Do you see any parallels with influencer? Or is your memory getting jogged back of like, oh, I remember when we were going through that before?
Oh yeah. So for one, being a young company, but like literally being a young company, where most of the people are under the age of like 40, that's always fun. But I think I see,
there.
Like, how old are you?
I'm 35. I got a couple years.
You got
still.
A lot of years.
Oh yeah, you got time. You got time. You're acting like you're like 39.
I wasn't sure what number you were going to say. Anytime someone says
have you
under
ever
the
seen
age of
Babyface Adam? I got a funny picture. Oh boy, with Adam with no beard in college.
Oh wow.
I digress. Sorry, Danielle. Carry on.
I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Yeah, imagining
something
that is
about
hard.
40.
young. We were really going off the rails. Young company, but also a young company.
Yes. Okay. So yes, we are a young company, so that's very similar. I think what's also just similar is just the way that we're trying to figure the process out. there's no wrong way to do things, but I think as we continue, like repetition truly matters. And so when we see some of the holes, and especially with bringing in so many new people at the same time, we can kind of get lost in the chaos. And I think with the startup too, you always have to remember that it's going to be organized chaos. Like it's never going to be 100% perfect. And that's what I love about startups, and other people can't thrive in that environment. I know that that's not for everybody. Luckily I've been able to, be in it and adapt, and it kind of work well for me. But once you realize and you start to get that repetition going of like, hey, we got this, like we sign a school, we know how to churn them out and get them into gear. Once we continue to do that, it'll get easier. It'll get better. It'll get a little bit more seamless. I think right now we're like in that growing pain phase where, remember when y'all were like kids, this happens mostly with guys and not girls, but like, remember when y'all were like little boys and then all of a sudden you hit that growth spurt and like your legs literally, you didn't even know how to walk one day because you like grew 3 inches in the bed.
I was 5'2" when I got my driver's license, by the way. 5'2" when I got my driver's license.
That happened to me at like 25.
Hey, I mean, it happens at all points of life, I assume. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I use the example that Campus Inc. is sometimes like Billy Madison, where every day is another grade. We graduated the 7th grade today. Like we're in high school. It's happening really fast, and it's really cool to see. I think that's the coolest part, as when we have such talented individuals now starting to put our heads together. Mm-hmm. It's like we're doing, like we have a bunch of brain surgeons coming from different parts of the world and different talents, and then starting to work on this. The apparel industry is archaic. It's dated. There hasn't been a lot of innovation in it. And it's just cool to watch it all kind of come to happen. And I think we'll see that in a couple of weeks. I think we'll see.
Here we come, Vegas.
Here we come, Vegas. Danielle, have you been to Vegas before?
I have been to Vegas.
Sean?
Last time was actually this time last year.
Were you at the licensing show last year? Tailgate show?
No, I was not at the licensing show last year. It was
it
was some other technology conference that
CES.
was going on. And yes,
CES,
that's what
maybe.
it was. It was like in the hotel that I was staying in. So I was like, okay, this is interesting, but did not crash it.
All right, we've got a lot of hot takes from Danielle. There's always new stuff that's happening in the NIL space. So, Sean, what's your NIL deal of the week?
So, can I do my merch first?
Sure.
I need to find an NIL deal of the week. But my merch of the week, which I'm fully prepared for, happened today. Friday, January 6th, Fletcher Lawyer from Purdue. This shirt is awesome. I love this thing. Basically, we've been throwing around the last name Lawyer. It's a great last name. What can we do with Lawyer Up, whatever it might be? And what is the tagline? It's fetch a lawyer.
It's better fetch Fletch, because his first name is Fletcher, and then it's like need a lawyer, better fetch Fletch.
Need a lawyer, better fetch Fletch, which I love. But the coolest part about it is last night Fletcher hit a game-winning shot. Purdue's number 1 in the country. They were about to lose on the road at Ohio State, and Fletcher came through. So when Purdue basketball was in trouble, they fetched Fletch, and they fetched their
I wonder,
lawyer.
does he have any NIL deals with like local lawyers? Because that's another thing that I've seen is, like athletes will partner up with like injury lawyers or whatever the case may be. And like I always look at it kind of funny because I'm like, okay, come on. But he would actually be pretty good at that one.
He will clean up, and he's only a freshman, so he's got a bright future. I'm sure those local lawyers are lining up. But credit to our team too. We were going to drop that shirt next week. Fletch hit that shot last night, and the team was like, "No, we got to drop this right now and take advantage of it." So really, really cool.
Nice.
Congrats, NIL deal of the week. Did you find one?
Yeah. Do you have an NIL deal of the week?
Here, while you look, I'll give my one last hot take. How about that? If there's a national anthem singer, fans should not be singing along. They should only sing along when it's an instrumental. Very hot take. I hate it. And like, you know, everybody's singing like out of key and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, if you have someone that's already singing it, like a singer, the reason why this came to mind was because Boyz II Men was doing the national anthem for one of the semifinal college football playoff games. And then you saw all these people singing along. And I'm like, it's Boyz II Men is up there right now. We do not need you. But there they were singing along. So yeah, that's
your
the
voice
hot
is
take.
not needed right now.
No, your voice is not needed. Theirs is enough. They're actually getting paid to do that. If it's an instrumental, yeah, you can sing along if you really feel the need to.
That's hilarious. So I have a funny story about national anthem before games. So I was in high school. I was a freshman on varsity, and you know, they'd play the recording, the cassette tape. That's how old I am. You know, over the loudspeaker, whatever. For whatever reason, it wasn't working. And our assistant coach at the time, he was a little bit of a troublemaker. He like steps out of line, leans up to me, and is like, "Go get the mic, Cook." And you know, I am not a singer. So, you know, little freshman me's like, okay, I guess coach has to do, you know, or I got to do whatever coach says. So like run over there, grab the mic. I have a terrible voice, but the quick enough on my feet. I was like, all right, crowd, everybody with me. And I sang like the first 2 words, set the mic down and ran back to the line. I was like, nope, not doing it. So that was the one time we actually did need the crowd's voice in the national anthem.
I thought you were going to step up. I thought you were about to be like, this is my moment. I'm about to shine.
Oh, heck no. Heck no. It would have cleared the gym out real fast if I started singing that.
I know. I can't even hum on key. So like,
Hang on.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
All right, well, Sean, we've stalled for quite a bit. Where's your NIL deal of the week? Putting you on the hot seat.
Sorry, guys.
Yes.
I knew as soon as I clicked that ESPN.com article, my computer would hit the fritz. It's already going slow as it is. So apologies for that. Little technical difficulties. Your NIL deal of the week. This is from ESPN.com. Really, really cool. Clemson football player KJ Henry. His dad required a kidney transplant. And so KJ used his NIL money to help cover the medical expenses. So like raised $100,000 to help raise the expenses to cover his dad's kidney transplant. So you have a story like that. You have a story like Anthony Leal, who paid off his sister's student loans. Like
awesome.
These things would not have happened before NIL. Like these players wouldn't have been able to do that. So just really, really cool.
All right, everybody. Great conversation with Danielle. Thanks for joining us. So happy to have you be a part of Campus Inc. That is another episode of the NIL show. I am Adam Cook here with Sean and Steven. We will catch you all next time.